He's been stripped of his military titles. He's lost his royal patronages. He's been banished from public life. The world thinks Prince Andrew is finished. But here's what they don't know. He's still the Duke of York. And according to royal experts, that title, that tarnished, controversial title, might be his golden ticket out of Britain and into a life of luxury most people can only dream of. The Middle East. Oil money. Connections built over decades. A place where a disgraced British royal might not be seen as a pariah, but as an opportunity. This isn't the story of a fallen prince fading into obscurity. This is the story of a man planning his comeback, not in London, but somewhere far more profitable, far more welcoming, and far more controversial. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor isn't going quietly, and what he's allegedly planning might shock you. Let's get one thing straight right from the start. Despite everything that's happened, despite the scandal, the lawsuit, the settlement, Prince Andrew is still, legally and officially, the Duke of York. Not former Duke, not disgraced Duke, just Duke. King Charles stripped his brother of everything else. The HRH designation in official use. The military appointments Andrew treasured. The royal patronages he'd held for decades. Even his position in the line of succession to the throne remains, though it's now ceremonial at best. Royal expert Marlene Koenig explains the complexity. Only an act of parliament can remove a peerage title. The king cannot do it alone, no matter how much he might want to. And there's the rub. Parliament would need to debate it, vote on it, dredge up every sordid detail of Andrew's fall from grace in the most public forum imaginable. It would be a spectacle, a constitutional crisis, a reminder of the monarchy's darkest hour, just as Charles tries to modernize and move forward. So the title stays, and with it, an identity, a status, and most importantly, a commodity that still has value in certain parts of the world. To understand Andrew's alleged escape plan, you need to understand his relationship with the Middle East. It's a story that goes back decades, long before the scandal, back when Prince Andrew was Britain's special trade representative. From 2001 to 2011, Andrew traveled the world promoting British business interests. But his favorite destination, the place he visited more than anywhere else, was the Middle East. Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Kuwait. He loved it there. The luxury, the deference, the lack of scrutiny from the British press. And they loved him back. Middle Eastern royalty and business leaders saw Andrew as a bridge to the British establishment. A real prince, son of a queen, who could open doors and make introductions. He attended lavish parties, stayed in opulent palaces, and built relationships with some of the wealthiest and most powerful people on earth. But there was always controversy. Andrew's friendship with Libyan dictator Muammar Gaddafi's son. His meetings with the son-in-law of Tunisia's corrupt president, just weeks before that regime fell. His connection to Kazakh oligarchs and Azerbaijani officials with questionable human rights records. The British press called him Air Miles Andy for his expensive travel habits. Critics questioned whether he was representing British interests or his own. In 2011, mounting pressure forced him to resign as trade envoy. But the connections remained. The relationships endured. And now, according to royal insiders, those relationships might be Andrew's lifeline. According to sources close to the situation, Andrew has been in quiet discussions with contacts in the Gulf states about a potential role. Not an official position, nothing that would require British government approval, but something that would allow him to live comfortably, even extravagantly, far from the judgment of the British public. Think of it as a consultancy, an advisory position, a seat on boards of companies and foundations. The kind of vague, well-compensated roles that wealthy Middle Eastern entities create for people with connections and titles. And here's the crucial part. The Duke of York title makes it possible. In Middle Eastern culture, titles matter. Lineage matters. Andrew might be a pariah in Britain, but in certain circles in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, or Riyadh, he's still the son of Queen Elizabeth II, the brother of the king, and a duke with centuries of history behind his name. Royal expert Richard Fitzwilliams puts it bluntly. In some parts of the world, Andrew's scandal is seen as a Western witch hunt. They don't care about the moral implications that horrify Britain. They care about connections, prestige, and what a British duke can do for their image internationally. Think about it. Luxury developments want prestigious names on their boards. Cultural foundations want royal patrons. Investment firms want someone who can pick up the phone and reach people other consultants can't. Andrew's reputation might be destroyed in Britain, but his Rolodex is still golden. And there's another factor. The Middle East offers something Andrew desperately needs: privacy, or more accurately, control over the narrative. No tabloid photographers staking out his home. No parliamentary debates about his relevance. No constant reminders of his disgrace. Just sunshine, luxury, and a second act far from prying eyes. If Andrew does relocate to the Middle East in some well-compensated role, it will be seen as the ultimate insult to the British public. And the anger has already started. Let's be clear about what happened. Andrew settled a civil lawsuit with Virginia Giuffre, who accused him of sexual abuse when she was 17. The settlement reportedly cost millions, money that many believe came from Queen Elizabeth II or Prince Charles, meaning British taxpayers indirectly funded it. Andrew has never been charged with a crime. He denies all wrongdoing. But he gave that catastrophic BBC interview where he claimed he couldn't sweat and was at Pizza Express in Woking. He failed to show empathy for the victims of his former friend Jeffrey Epstein. He came across as entitled, tone-deaf, and completely disconnected from reality. The British public hasn't forgiven him. Poll after poll shows overwhelming disapproval. Most people believe he should fade into complete obscurity, preferably somewhere they never have to think about him again. But here's what's really infuriating people: the idea that Andrew could fail upward, that he could take his scandal, his title, and his connections and turn them into a comfortable retirement funded by foreign money. It's grotesque, says anti-monarchy campaigner Graham Smith. He's been accused of abusing a trafficking victim. He settled out of court, and now he gets to live in luxury in the Middle East? This is exactly what's wrong with the monarchy. Accountability for thee, but not for me. Critics point out the hypocrisy. The same Middle Eastern countries that might welcome Andrew have their own questionable records on human rights, women's rights, and treatment of vulnerable people. The idea that Andrew could find refuge there, working for regimes that suppress dissent and limit freedoms, is seen as the ultimate moral failure. But there's another layer to the anger. King Charles has been trying desperately to slim down the monarchy, to make it more efficient and relevant to modern Britain. He's cut funding, reduced the number of working royals, and pushed for transparency. And then there's his brother, potentially undermining all of that by cashing in on his title in a way that embarrasses the institution and the country. Here's where things get complicated, because unlike working royals, Andrew isn't technically bound by the same restrictions. Working royals, those who receive funding from the sovereign grant and perform official duties, must seek approval for commercial activities and foreign income. But Andrew was stripped of those duties. He's not a working royal anymore. He's just a private citizen who happens to be a duke and the king's brother. Constitutional experts point out the gray area. There's no law preventing Andrew from working abroad or accepting positions with foreign companies. He's not in government. He's not using his HRH. So technically, he can do what he wants. That's the ethical question tearing through royal circles. Yes, Andrew might be legally permitted to monetize his title and connections in the Middle East, but doing so would be seen as capitalizing on his royal status for personal gain, while the institution that gave him that status distances itself from him. King Charles faces an impossible dilemma. If he tries to stop Andrew through official channels, it becomes a public battle that keeps the scandal in the headlines. If he does nothing, it looks like the monarchy condones Andrew's behavior and his attempts to profit from it. Some royal insiders suggest Charles has already had difficult conversations with Andrew, making it clear that any Middle East venture would be seen as a betrayal of the family. But Andrew, according to these same sources, believes he's been punished enough. He's still the Duke of York, one source reportedly said. He still has relationships built over 40 years. Why shouldn't he use them? He's not going to sit in Royal Lodge for the rest of his life being everyone's scapegoat. There's a defiance there, a refusal to accept the exile that Britain has imposed. And that defiance might be about to take physical form thousands of miles away. When news of Andrew's potential Middle East plans leaked, the public reaction was swift and scathing. Social media exploded with anger. Trafficking victims get therapy bills. Andrew gets a luxury retirement in Dubai. That's your monarchy, one viral tweet read. Another, strip him of the Duke of York title. The people of York don't want him. Britain doesn't want him. Send him to the Middle East without the title and see how many job offers he gets. The city of York itself has been petitioning for years to have Andrew's association with their name removed. Local councillors have written to Charles, asking that the title be removed or at least reassigned. The response has been bureaucratic silence. Victims' advocates expressed horror at the idea of Andrew living comfortably abroad. "This sends a terrible message," said one campaigner, "that if you're wealthy and connected enough, you can settle allegations out of court and then just move somewhere that doesn't care about your past." But there's a small minority, mostly staunch royalists, who defend Andrew's right to rebuild. He was never charged with a crime, they argue. He settled a civil case. Does he not deserve to move on? Should he be punished forever? The answer from most of Britain seems to be yes. So will Andrew actually make this move? Will he trade Royal Lodge for a penthouse in Dubai or a villa in Abu Dhabi? Royal experts are divided. Some believe it's inevitable. Andrew needs money, one explains. Royal Lodge costs a fortune to maintain. His security alone is enormously expensive. King Charles is cutting his funding. A Middle East role could solve all those problems. Others are skeptical. Andrew is stubborn, another expert notes. Leaving Britain would feel like final defeat, like admitting he can never return to public life here. His ego might not allow it. There's also the question of whether Middle Eastern entities actually want to take on the controversy. Yes, Andrew has connections. Yes, his title carries weight. But associating with him also means associating with scandal. Some corporations and foundations might decide the risk isn't worth it. And then there's the wild card, King Charles. How far is he willing to go to stop his brother? Would he threaten to strip Andrew of Royal Lodge? Cut off financial support entirely? Make life so uncomfortable that Andrew has no choice but to leave? The chess game is being played behind palace doors, and we only see the pieces when they move into public view. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor is still the Duke of York. That's not an opinion or a technicality. It's a legal fact. And as long as he holds that title, he holds something of value. Not to Britain, not to the monarchy, but to certain people in certain places where titles still open doors and scandals are viewed through a very different lens. The Middle East has always welcomed people escaping uncomfortable situations in the West. Tax exiles, disgraced businessmen, people who need a fresh start away from scrutiny. Andrew wouldn't be the first, and he won't be the last. The son of Elizabeth II, the brother of Charles III, cashing in on his royal connections in a region where human rights concerns take a backseat to business relationships. It's the kind of story that makes monarchists wince and Republicans say, "We told you so." What happens next could define Andrew's legacy more than anything else. Will he fade into obscurity at Royal Lodge, a reclusive duke who never regained his reputation? Will King Charles find a way to force him out entirely, perhaps by removing his security or cutting financial support? Or will Andrew do what he's always done? Ignore the critics, follow his own path, and leverage his title and connections to create a second act that most people thought was impossible? One thing is certain. The Duke of York title, that controversial, tarnished title, might be the most valuable asset Andrew has left. And he's not ready to give it up.